My name is Raven Calder, and at 32 years old, I never thought I'd be at war with my own family over money. When my mom announced the Sapphire Isles vacation, her voice dripped with disdain. Flights are $2,300 each. The poor girl should stay home. Her words stung, but I nodded, hiding the anger bubbling inside. 2 hours later, my phone buzzed with alerts. Someone had charged my credit card $8,600 for 4 business-class tickets to the Sapphire Isles, dates matching the family trip, but my name was nowhere on them. My heart pounded as I opened the app, confirmed the unauthorized charges, and hit dispute. Then I locked every card they could have touched. By morning, my phone showed 47 angry missed calls. Mom, Dad, my sister, my brother, all furious. Before we dive into the chaos that followed, let me know where you're watching from. I really want to know how far my story will spread. Growing up in Stonehaven, Texas, I never saw the full picture of our family's money issues. I'm a freelance software developer, pulling in around $64,000 a year. My one-bedroom apartment in a quiet part of town is cozy, decorated with thrift store furniture and a few personal coding projects pinned to the walls. My 11-year-old Honda still gets me around just fine. I live within my means, and I'm okay with that. But my parents, Evelys and Baron Calder, exist in a whole different world. Their sprawling home in the suburbs of Stonehaven boasts a manicured lawn, a 3-car garage, and 2 SUVs that cost more than my yearly income. Mom runs a lavish event planning business, orchestrating high society galas with a smile that never falters. Dad is a market speculator, always convinced the next trade will make him rich. They've built a life that screams success, and they expect their children to play along. My younger sister, Soraya, 29, works in luxury cosmetics, selling serums and perfumes to clients who don't blink at 4-figure price tags. My brother, Tavian, 26, followed Dad into finance. Already pulling 6 figures and driving a sleek graphite Audi, they fit perfectly into Mom and Dad's world of appearances. Family dinners were a masterclass in subtle digs. "When are you going to get a real job, Raven?" Mom would ask over plates of imported lamb. Her tone airy but sharp. "Development work is cute," Dad would add, "but you could do so much more." He'd offer me a spot at his firm, and I'd smile, deflect, and change the subject. Truth is, I love my work, building apps for small businesses, solving problems with clean logic and quiet creativity. It's not flashy, but it's mine. Corporate life would suffocate me. Our family vacations were another pressure point. They weren't optional, they were performances. Growing up, we were marched through luxury resorts in coordinated outfits for Mom's aesthetic. As adults, nothing changed. Last year's trip to the Celestine coast wiped out my emergency savings. I'd suggested a cheaper hotel nearby, but Mom's face froze. "We're a family, Raven. We stay together at the best places. What would people think if you were at some budget hotel?" So I paid up, dipping into the emergency cushion I'd spent years building. Things got tighter for me recently. 3 months ago, my biggest client, a mid-sized startup whose entire app, one built from scratch, was bought by a tech giant. They replaced me with an in-house team, cutting my income by nearly 25%. I scrambled to pick up smaller contracts, but my financial runway was shrinking fast. The constant pressure to match my family's lifestyle didn't help. Every dinner, every holiday, I spent money I didn't have on clothes or gifts, just to avoid their sideways glances. It was exhausting pretending I could keep up. So when Mom started planning this year's Sapphire Isles trip, my stomach dropped. I'd always dreamed of visiting, but the timing was brutal. Missing it, though, would be seen as a betrayal of family tradition. In the group chat, Mom raved about the Grand Azure Resort, saying her friend Melanie called it transformative. Soraya spammed heart emojis, already planning spa days. Tavian replied, "Book it. I'm in." I waited a day before texting a vague, "Sounds great." Meanwhile, my mind raced through impossible budget math. My rent had gone up $280 last month. A surprise dental bill from a chipped molar ate into the little savings I had left. And I couldn't tell them I was barely staying afloat, not in a family where appearances were religion. That tension, that suffocating expectation, was the spark waiting to ignite. If this family pressure feels too real, hit subscribe to catch more stories like this. The family meeting happened that Sunday afternoon at their Stonehaven home. Mom's dining room was a stage for her extravagance. Linen tablecloths, crystal glasses, a spread of artisan cheeses and imported figs that probably cost more than my weekly groceries. Evelis presided over the table like a general, her tablet open to a luxury travel site. Brochures for Sapphire Isles resorts fanned out like a poker hand. Dad sat at the head, scrolling his phone, nodding occasionally as she outlined her vision for the trip. Soraya, in a silky designer blouse, flipped through a glossy pamphlet. Tavian lounged back with his usual self-assured smirk, sipping a craft ale. "We're doing 12 days in June at the Grand Azure," Mom announced brightly. "The weather's perfect, and their Sky Infinity pool is divine." Soraya slid a brochure toward me, pointing at a private seaplane tour over the coral cliffs, $540 per person. "This looks stunning," Tavian chimed in. "And the golf course at Cresthaven Bay is world-class. Already booked tea times for me and Dad." I scanned the fine print, my chest tightening. A sunset sailing charter was next, another $1,100 ahead. I tried to contribute. "What about hiking? I read there are free trails with amazing views." The table went still. Mom's smile stiffened. "Free trails are fine for tourists, Raven, but we're doing a guided ridge trek. It's exclusive." My suggestion fell dead. Soraya rolled her eyes. Tavian smirked. Dad didn't look up. Then Mom turned to me, tone crisp. "Flights are $2,300 each. If you can't afford it, the poor girl should stay home." The words landed like a slap. I felt my face burn. "I'll figure it out," I muttered. But I already knew I couldn't. And that they didn't care. The meeting dragged on, piling on more exclusive dinners and spa packages I couldn't dream of affording. I left their house in my beat-up Honda, the weight of their expectations crushing me. 2 hours later, I was back in my apartment trying to focus on a coding project when my phone buzzed. Then again, and again. Alerts from my bank app flooded the screen. My hand shook as I opened it. Someone had charged $8,600 on my credit card for 4 business class tickets to the Sapphire Isles. Names listed for Mom, Dad, Soraya, and Tavian. My name was not included. The betrayal hit like a gut punch. They hadn't just used my card without asking, they had intentionally left me out. Confusion gave way to fury. I tapped through the banking app, my fingers steady despite the storm inside. The charges were unauthorized, plain and simple. I hit dispute, typed a clear explanation. I did not make or approve this purchase, and locked the card completely. No one was touching my money again. My phone buzzed nonstop. Notifications piled up, but I ignored them. The family group chat was probably already exploding, and I knew exactly what was coming. Mom's indignation, Dad's justification, Soraya's snark, Tavian's ego. I stared at the locked card confirmation on my screen, my heart racing, knowing this was just the beginning. The next morning at 7:30 a.m., pounding started on my apartment door. I hadn't slept. Through the peephole I saw my father, Baron. His face flushed with anger. I opened the door but didn't let him in. "What are you doing, Raven?" he barked, skipping any greeting. "The airline called about a problem with our tickets. Your mother is humiliated." I took a breath, kept my voice steady. "Someone used my card without my permission for charges I didn't authorize. And for a trip I wasn't even included in. That's the problem." Dad's eyes narrowed. "Don't be dramatic. Your mother was organizing the trip for everyone. As always. You were at the meeting." "I said I'd figure my part out," I shot back. "Not pay for everyone else. I can't afford that, and you know it." He waved me off. "This is how our family works. We all pitch in. Soraya is paying for spa packages. Tavian is covering rentals. We're paying for the resort. You're making this harder than it needs to be." I stood firm. Did Soraya use your card without asking? Did Tavian use Mom's? Silence. Someone took mine, I continued. Without my consent. Dad's jaw tightened. His phone rang. It's your mother, he muttered, stepping aside to answer. She's upset. Fix this now. By noon, Mom finally called. Raven, how could you do this to me? Evelyn's voice was thick with performative tears. After everything I've done for this family, you accused me of stealing? I haven't eaten all day. I gripped the phone, tired already. You used my card for tickets that didn't include me. That's not okay. She sighed dramatically. You're breaking our family apart over money. I thought you were better than this. Before I could respond, she hung up. Next came Soraya. She posted a photo of herself sipping champagne with the caption, "Some people don't value family. Sad." Her followers messaged me, confused. She never named me, but everyone understood. The pressure mounted. The family group chat exploded. Call me now. This is unacceptable. Soraya, you're embarrassing us. The airline rep was rude to Mom because of you. Tavian remained silent. Odd for him. Normally he'd be first to pile on. While I sat staring at the phone, trying to resist second-guessing myself, an unknown number called. I answered, expecting another bank alert. Instead, it was my aunt, Aunt Leona, Dad's older sister, calling from Clearwater City. Raven, I heard about the drama from your cousin, she said, her voice calm and steady. I don't know the full story, but I've been where you are. Years ago, your parents pulled me into a family investment. Used my credit without asking. When it tanked, they expected me to pay the debt. I let it slide to keep the peace. It cost me years. Her words hit deep. Validation. Finally. You're not wrong to stand your ground, she added. Don't let them twist this. Ever stood up to family like this? Comment your story and hit like if it resonates. Aunt Leona's call steadied me. I'd been feeling like the villain, but her story made it clear. This wasn't new behavior. Mom's tears, Dad's demands, Soraya's posts. They were all part of a pattern. I checked my bank app again. The dispute was still active. Notifications kept coming, each one sharper, more manipulative. I turned off my phone. This wasn't about $8,600 anymore. It was about boundaries. About a family that only saw me as a resource. I knew the worst was still coming. Over the next 3 days, the pressure ramped up. My phone became a battlefield of notifications. You're tearing this family apart. Call me immediately. Fix this before it ruins our reservation. Soraya's newest Instagram story was a sunset over a wine glass, captioned, "Some people choose money over love." Friends messaged me asking if I was okay. The guilt stung, even though I knew the truth. On Tuesday afternoon, my grandmother called. Sweet, frail Grandma Shiloh. "Raven, darling, what's this about you upsetting your mother?" she asked gently. "She told me you refused to join the family vacation. Her heart is under stress, you know." Mom had spun the story. "Course," I explained softly. "Grandma, it's a misunderstanding about the tickets. I'm sorting it out." She sighed. "Family comes first, sweetheart. Fix this for your mother's sake." By Wednesday morning, Dad tried a new angle. "If money's the problem," Barron texted, "we'll loan you the $8,600. Pay us back when you're stable. Just drop the dispute." I stared at the message. "A loan. To pay for their unauthorized purchase." I replied. "A loan doesn't fix consent." He didn't answer. I could feel the shift. Pressure turning into desperation. That night, Tavian finally messaged me privately. "This is getting out of hand. We need to talk." Called him wary. His voice was low. "Raven. Mom and Dad are in trouble. Their finances are a mess. Investments crashed. Cards maxed. Loans on the house. They used your card because their limits are tapped." My breath caught. "Why didn't you tell me?" Silence. "I can't get involved. It could hurt my career." And just like that, he backed out. The pieces fell into place. Mom's desperation. Dad's anger, Soraya's theatrics, Tavian's silence. They were all drowning, and expected me to be their lifeline. But I wouldn't be. Not anymore. 5 days later, the mandatory family dinner arrived at my parents' Stonehaven home. The dining room table was set with Mom's finest china, crystal glasses, and a roasted rosemary lamb centerpiece surrounded by dishes that screamed effort. Her way of signaling control. The air was thick with tension as I walked in, dressed in my usual jeans and sweater, bracing myself. Evelis sat at one end, her face a mask of forced calm. Baron at the head, barely looked up from swirling his wine. Soraya, wrapped in a silk dress, scrolled her phone with a smirk. Tavian slouched in his chair, eyes low, avoiding mine. Nobody spoke as I took my seat. Mom broke the silence first. "We're here to resolve this mess you've caused, Raven," she said, her voice icy. "The airline is holding our tickets because of your dispute. It's humiliating." Dad nodded. "Just withdraw the claim and we'll move on." Soraya tossed her hair. "Why are you making this so difficult? It's just money." I clenched my fists beneath the table, pulse racing. "It's not just money," I said, keeping my voice even. "You used my card without asking. For $8,600 in tickets I wasn't even included on. That's a violation." Mom's eyes widened with theatrical shock. "A violation? After all we've done for you. I was organizing a family trip. Like always." Dad leaned forward, his tone sharp. "You're blowing this out of proportion. We all contribute. Drop the dispute or you're out of this family." Soraya chimed in. "You're so ungrateful, Raven. Always playing the victim." Tavian stayed silent. That hurt more than their words. But I came prepared. I reached into my bag and pulled out a printed set of financial statements. Not mine but theirs, ones Tavian had confirmed. "Since you're accusing me of destroying the family," I said, sliding the papers across the table, "let's discuss the truth. Failed stock investments, maxed credit cards, 2 loans against the house. You used my card because yours were tapped out." Mom's face drained of color. "How dare you dig into our finances?" she snapped, hands trembling. Dad grabbed the papers. His eyes darted across the numbers. His hands shook. "This is private. You had no right." Soraya scoffed. "You're lying. You're trying to make us look bad." I shook my head. "I'm trying to help. You need a financial advisor. You need to scale back. This can't continue." Their response was instant. Mom shot to her feet, voice cracking with rage. "We're fine. Every successful family has cash flow issues. You're shaming us." Dad slammed his fist on the table so hard the lamb platter rattled. "You're the problem, Raven. Not us." Soraya stared at me with disgust. "Maybe if you had a real job, you wouldn't be obsessed with money." A crack opened inside me. Years of swallowed words rising to the surface. "Enough," I said, my voice slicing through the room. "For years, I let you make me feel less because my life isn't built on debt and pretending. I stretched myself thin to fit your image. But using my card without consent. Leaving me out on purpose. That's not family. That's betrayal." The room went still. Mom's breathing quickened. Dad's jaw clenched. Soraya looked stunned. Tavian stared at the table, guilt flickering across his face. "Understood." The chair scraped loudly. "If being part of this family means letting you walk over me, I don't want it anymore." Left, heart pounding, hands trembling, but freer than I had felt in years. If boundaries have ever changed your family, hit subscribe and share below. 6 months after that dinner, I sat alone in my Stonehaven apartment, reflecting. I'd blocked their numbers, left the family group chat, muted their emails. Cutting off Mom, Dad, Soraya, and Tavian was the hardest decision I'd ever made. But it was final. The silence was heavy at first, like losing a limb. But over time it gave me clarity. I wasn't the villain they painted me as. I was the only one refusing to drown in their chaos. Through mutual contacts, I learned how things unraveled for them. Mom and Dad's facade cracked fast. Their sprawling suburban home went into foreclosure when they couldn't keep up with payments on their second mortgage. By early spring, a sheriff's notice was taped to the front door, and they were forced to move into a modest rental on the other side of town. Dad filed for Chapter 7 bankruptcy, liquidating what little they had to cover their mounting debts. His stock market ventures, which he bragged about endlessly, left them with nothing but overdrawn accounts and cancelled credit lines. Word spread that Mom was consulting a divorce attorney. Years of financial stress and denial had finally caught up with them. Neither reached out to me. I didn't expect them to. As for Soraya, her Instagram theatrics backfired spectacularly. A local influencer publicly called out her fake luxury lifestyle, and the scandal reached her employer. Her high-end cosmetics employer didn't want the drama. Her job disappeared. Last I heard, she was back in Stonehaven working part-time retail and had made her profile private. Tavian, always the golden child, distanced himself completely. He took a transfer to a branch in another state, chasing stability. He didn't speak to them. He didn't speak to me. I didn't blame him, but it still hurt. I leaned on Aunt Leona's words often. She had warned me about their behavior, how they blurred boundaries until nothing was left of the person they leaned on. Walking away wasn't cruelty, it was survival. My life wasn't perfect. Freelance development work kept me afloat, but with inconsistent gigs. Still, I was rebuilding. Slowly, steadily, quietly, without their pressure to pretend. Therapy helped. I learned to separate guilt from responsibility. Learned what love should look like. My little apartment, once mocked by my family, felt like a sanctuary. I even joined a local outdoor group and started exploring the desert trails I once suggested for that doomed trip. The irony wasn't lost on me. Looking back, I saw it clearly. Setting financial boundaries isn't selfish. It's necessary. When my family used my card without permission, they crossed a line that exposed everything. Their entitlement, their manipulation, their belief that my resources existed for their convenience. That was the moment I stopped being their safety net. I don't know if they'll ever change. And I've made peace with not knowing. My focus now is building a life where trust is real, respect is mutual, and boundaries are non-negotiable. A life that is finally entirely mine.